the week, the LHSA announcing that the plan for football was to start a regular season by week 2 of October, which on the calendar would equate to week 6 of the regular season, but still the opportunity to play as many as 8 regular season games plus playoffs. That would be the optimum schedule at this point. Joining us now to talk about that and talk about his own program, a gentleman whose name is synonymous with Covington High School football. The Salter legacy is etched in stone, and Greg Salter has continued that, pushing a decade now, closing in on a decade as the head coach
I'm
of the
getting up
Covington
there.
Lions.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting up there. You haven't quite caught Jack yet, but
Not no
stick
no. I
around.
got a ways to go. God willing, I'll be here that long. But just to think that far ahead is kind of a scary thought.
Hey, Greg Salter with us from Covington. Greg, it's great to have you with us, and obviously these are strange times. And I've said this to other coaches I've had on the show. I commend the LHSAA, and I know it's easy to take shots at them, and people love to do so. It's a thankless job to have to make decisions about so many different animals, and we're all going to agree or disagree on things. But with the way they've handled this entire scenario during the pandemic, I think they've done an exemplary job. They've
I
created hope every step of the way. They've never ruled out any possibility. They've left the door open, and they've stated continuously that they're all about the student athletes and want to see them compete.
I couldn't agree more. And that's the one thing we've told our kids from the get go. With all the uncertainty going around, that all this time the LHSA has not wavered in the fact that they want these young men to be on the field, whether it's whether it's August, whether it's October. I've even heard the mention of spring. Come on, it sounds like they're as invested in our kids as we are, and I'm with you. I commend them, and coming out with a firm date this week. I really appreciate that. It allows us to, slow down if we need to slow down, speed up if we need to speed up. But like you said before, the most important thing is setting that date. It provides hope for these kids.
Now, you've seen the potential, and you guys have discussed it, 6-game regular season and stay on time with the playoffs, 7-game regular season, 8-game regular season. Eddie Bonine said that most of the coaches and athletic directors said, look, we've got to have at least 7. And if you have 8, then in all likelihood, you're going to have to cut the playoffs back. You're going to have to reduce around and the number of teams that make it if you go with the 8-game schedule. Where do you sit with this? Where does Covington High School sit with this? What would be the optimum scenario for you?
I'm going to be honest, and this is my selfish opinion. I certainly want what's best for everyone in the state, and I know that the LHSA will make a decision based off of that, and not what Greg Salter thinks. But I would prefer the 5-round playoffs, 32 teams. The reason I say that is, I am getting up close to a decade, and I know how difficult, and strenuous a 10-game season can be, and the ups and downs, peaks and valleys that you go throughout that year. The time it might take one team to find itself a little bit later than another. And a perfect example was us last year. We started off, we had some, we got hit by the injury bug early in the year and played some good teams also. They certainly had more to do that with that than the injuries, but, and started off 1-3. We started getting healthy, started finding our identity and who we were as a team. And, those next 6 weeks, the only loss we had was a loss against Slidell in overtime that ultimately ended up being for the district championship. But, and then us and Mandeville were two teams that got into that 32, that top 32. We weren't in the top 16. We both went off and won, pulled upsets in the first round. Mandeville was able to go to the quarterfinals. We found ourselves, up 7-3 against Destrehan, who ended up in the dome. We were up 7-3 in the fourth quarter before they came back and were able to beat us. But we would have never had that opportunity, had we not, had those, that field of 32. We would have had one team in our district. And, I see the arguments both ways, but that's just my own selfish opinion, those peaks and valleys. And, I feel like there's a lot of capable teams that are, finding them. If you just find yourself at the right time in those playoffs, and anything can happen.
And there's always a great story annually of a lower seed that breaks through and makes it to the quarters, makes it to the semis, sometimes a seed in the 20s, oftentimes a seed in the teens. So that's part of it as well. And I get both sides of it. I really do. Again, there's no right and wrong here. It's simply a matter of trying to give these kids an opportunity to compete. As it is, there are going to be lost games to start the season regardless, along with the lost
Right.
scrimmage or jamboree in all likelihood, the way things stack up, and those are clear preparation entities for you.
And I
So,
do.
as a coach, how difficult is it not having that type of preparation to be able to field a team and get them to perform at optimum level?
It is difficult. It's certainly been a challenge, and this past week was, certainly a challenge trying to keep those groups, and group, those kids in groups of no more than 25, doing our best to keep them socially distanced is certainly a challenge. Not being able to go, really compete. That's what you want to be this time of year. You want to be able to see your kids compete. And they're able to do that normally, and even in a 7-on-7 setting, those guys are out there and they're learning to compete. They're learning to win. They're learning, how to succeed. Same thing when we strap it up, this time of year normally, it's that first defense and that first offense. And those guys are, while it's not under the lights on a Friday night, they're getting after it for bragging rights and fighting for positions. And, now kind of, everything's, I feel like you're kind of basing everything, every decision you make is based, as far as with the players individually, is based off of potential. And, I really welcome, the opportunity to be able to get pads on and again, to be able to see these guys compete.
Visiting with Greg Salter, the head coach of the Covington Lions. Of course, your district, and that's what you have to focus on with the reduced schedule, obviously, will be competitive again as it has been for several years. We've had other coaches from your league on the show and recently, and it's been interesting. It's been a transition because up until I don't know, 4 years ago, St. Paul's was ruling the roost, if not every year, most every year in the district, and that's changed dramatically in the last 4 years. We've seen different teams step up. Covington's had two great runs. Slidell obviously had a big year last year. Mandeville had a really good run last year. Ponchatoula's been that team that's gotten to the quarterfinals as well. This has become a more diverse league, a league that in any given year, I guess any one of maybe 5 teams could win the league. Is that what you see again this year?
Yes, sir. I always see that, and I think the number one thing in this league is the quality of coaching. There's so many great coaches throughout our district, just proven winners, guys that have done great jobs leading not only their programs that they're at now, but programs in the past. I think it all starts there with that, just schematically and whether it's offensively, defensively. There's just so many great coaches, and there's great players in the district as well. I think our area is often overlooked, as far as the talent that we put out there. But we're continuing throughout this parish and in our neighboring parishes to send guys to big time colleges, guys that are producing and. We're very proud of the brand of football that we play in our district. I expect nothing different this year. There's going to be, I would say, 4 or 5 teams, just like you said. I could completely agree with that. And the thing is, I don't know what 4 or 5 teams. That's the thing. You never know who's going to be up on the top and on the bottom every year. It's so much parity, and it's so much fun to play those 7 weeks of district ball.
With your own team, you've got a nice core of players coming back, having reached the second round of the playoffs a year ago and narrowly missed winning a district championship. And of course, it starts at quarterback. When you have an experienced quarterback, you got half the battle won, and you certainly have that with Blake Sharp.
I do, yes. He certainly, really, I was really pleased with the way he was able to play last year. He was a first-year starter, a guy that did not have much experience coming in. And you could see the progression with him throughout the year. And as comfortable as he got out there, the more comfortable we got in his ability and the things that we were able to ask him to do. And, he's just hit the ground running, since the off season, since January, and we got started back in the weight room and everything else. And He's developing into a leader. We lost a lot of really good seniors last year that carried that leadership role, and he's just one of many guys in this senior class that has done a fine job of just stepping up and taking the reins and showing these younger guys, what the traditions of Covington football and the success of Covington football is all about.
You got Quintez Laurent, of course, who ran the ball well for you last year. Melvin Bates up front, who's a big kid, and a lot of experience on defense and a lot of good players on that side of the football. I know that you're high on, whether it's Cade Rogers or Dianate McDowell or Alex Sharp. You've got guys that have played well for you.
Right, yeah. Cade and Alex are two guys. They lettered as freshmen on that team a couple years ago that went undefeated in 2017. So they got quality minutes. Even as young as freshmen, and and that's those guys like that are why it's so important. That we're able to play football, and again, whether it's fall, spring, I don't care when, but guys like that have invested so much time and effort into Covington football and the sacrifices that they have made for the last 4 years. It would break my heart not to see them guys out on the field. And again, I commend the LHSA because I believe that they will ensure that happens.
Well, it's going to be a fun time again once the kids hit the field. Let's hope that's soon. Let's hope it's on time as we have it scheduled right now. And let's all hope and pray that things change in our state so that the next announcement made by the governor will be one that moves us further along, because I think everybody is anxious for that. Everybody wants to see it happen, but it can't happen unless things improve. So we're just at the mercy of so many things. But right now we just need to look out for each other and care for each other and hope for the best. And more than anything else, that these student athletes have the kind of experience that they deserve to have.
Yes, sir. Could not agree more. They deserve that. And I know our kids are, there's certain experiences that they expect to have when, as a Covington Lion, next week we would be normally taking our annual trip to Percy Quinn State Park. And my grandpa, took the first team there in 1965. So we've been there 55 straight years, and this will be the first year that we won't make that trip in 55 years. I know, guys are disappointed about things like that. But, as we tell them, it doesn't do any good complaining. Just appreciate the things that we do have, and we do have the ability to have a season. So we'll cherish that, and, these other, minor details, we'll get back to those things next year. But right now it's just all about playing some football.
Greg Salter, Covington High School. Appreciate the visit. Nothing but the best to you, the family, the Lions, and let's hope we're talking football very soon.
Thank you, sir. And I have to wish my wife a happy anniversary, Colette, of 17 years. And thank you again for having me on.
Happy anniversary, Colette. And happy anniversary, Greg. That's awesome. Great testimony. Keep it up. You hear? Right,
yes,
buddy.
Sir. Thank you, sir.
Treat her well. She'll appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. We'll take it. I'm getting those brownie points. Thank you.
You bet. I'll send you the podcast and make sure she heard it, man. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate you, man. Take care. That's Greg Salter, Covington High School. We'll take a brief time out. Back to update you on the Pelicans game, LSU news.